A lot of things can change in 3 years. People, your attitude, and even classes. Today we're going to be looking at the brand new revisited Unearthed Arcana, the Articifer.
Welcome to the Home Brew Crew. I'm Tony, this is Sean, and today we're going to be going over, briefly, the Articifer, right? The new Artificer UA, which is cool. By the way, I'm going to say UA from now on, because I got...
That way we don't comment on your dialogue.
Yep. My dialect is the way it is.
Yeah. But no, it's interesting because we haven't seen it come back for 3 years now. 2016 was the first time we got the UA for the original Articifer. 3 years have passed, and everyone's been hyping this up, and everyone's been excited. See,
and I think the hype has killed a little bit of the enthusiasm of it, because when this thing came out, it came out with, like, lukewarm reviews. Like, everybody was like, oh, it's kind of underwhelming. I don't really like it.
And I think everyone kind of had just these really high expectations, and a lot of people had different ideas of how it was going to turn out. But I was one of those people. I was one of the underwhelmed crowd.
You know what has two thumbs and really dug this class? This guy.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I honestly, I looked at this and went, this is so much better than the original one. The original one was too overpowered for me. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to cast alchemical fire. What does it cost? Nothing. I can do it anytime I want. But this one's really cool because it breaks it down and it gives you thematic, like, for your campaign, so you can change around how the character is built and how they cast their spells for it. There are a couple little things I'd probably change with it, but again, this is playtest material. Mm-hmm. This is the reason why they do this.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is an Artificer, right? An Artificer is this guy who either crafts an object or makes something that isn't, or infuses magic into an object. I know you like the infusions a lot.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the best features that the class gets. So starting like pretty early on, after your long rest, you can basically take these mundane, regular objects and turn them into something fantastic. You could take a pair of boots and make someone, teleport or get these pouches and create more space, things like that.
And that's the thing that I think people are missing with this. Mm-hmm. This is a utility class, guys. This is not supposed to be boom, boom, pow, as you put it.
You're right, exactly.
This is a utility class. This is there to actually control the field and to help other players. This is what I always felt the bard should be, but isn't. Because you can't be, I'm going to sing and help everybody, and then, you know what, I'm just going to shoot a lightning bolt at this thing.
Right, just because I can.
But the thing is that this one is pure utility, from the items infusing to giving, just having the option to change cantrips on the fly,
right?
To spell storing in items so other people can use the spells. This is utility. Mm-hmm. It's all utility, and it's been lacking from 5e for God knows how long. The whole thing has been lacking to me.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it breaks it down into two different subclasses that you can pick from, one being the Alchemist and one being the Artillerist, and they're both pretty different in their own way.
I am partial to the Alchemist, actually, myself.
Yeah.
The Artillerist I like. I just feel like the Alchemist has a little bit more balance to it, and it's got more flavor.
Yeah.
It's got more flavor,
yeah.
Sean.
I think there's more opportunity for flavor.
Like Die Free kind of came in here.
Yeah.
From the corner, Emma Lagasse with the band. But it is pretty cool because they get to make. In fact, this is the one thing I thought maybe they should change with it. With the alchemical homunculus, so you create this creature.
Yeah.
And it's alchemical, so it's potions and things.
Yeah, so you imagine this more, I guess, pudgy, organic kind of thing,
Yeah, and if you look up, like, a homunculus in this, especially if you're going on to, like, the Ravnica stuff that just came out or whatever, they're these, like, one-eyed, little impy kind of things.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, I've always seen this more of a mechanical thing, haven't you?
Yeah, and even in the original, older Articifer, you had an ability where you can make a little mechanical buddy with you,
And I think what's going to happen is I'm gonna flavor it towards mechanical anyway.
Yeah,
in my homebrew.
Or at the very least, I think when you're using this in your own homebrew campaign, feel free to reflavor it as a clockwork or mechanical thing, and you can still have it do the same things. Mm-hmm. You can still have it take all the same great actions that it has, because mechanically speaking, the homunculus is actually really cool. It's one of the best things the alchemist gets.
Yeah, because think of it this way. You've got, if your action is being spent helping people and getting them stable, or being able to make one invisible, or to change what the monster does, anything like that, you want to be able to hit with something. So as a bonus action, you can have your homunculus do the actual attacking. So I saw somebody post on the forums with that, saying, are you okay with it being... actually, no, it was in our Discord. Somebody in our Discord mentioned to me, are you cool with it being, everything going through the pet? I'm like, yeah, it's actually really cool, because to think of the attack as your bonus action instead of it being... Because you are a support class.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. I just think... I feel like we have to keep reiterating that for some reason, but it's true. But then there's a difference between the alchemist and the artillerist. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with the artillerist, there's this emphasis on the turret that they get. That's like kind of like their big thing. They basically get this turret, and you can plant it next to you, and it can fire like flamethrower shots or force ballista shots. And it's interesting. It's not really what I was gonna expect. Actually, I didn't think they were gonna go with this whole turret thing. But I will give it one thing. It again kind of reinforces this more defensive thing, because like you're not taking a gun out there, you're planning this nice like firearm and firing off shots.
What's that Overwatch character?
Yeah, it's like Torbjorn.
Okay, yeah.
It's basically like playing a Torbjorn.
Well, and he's kind of tinkerish.
And he is he'll like hammer on the turret and stuff. And it's interesting because like even at later levels, the turret then gives you like cover and you get the fortified position and then the other thing that we were looking at with the artillerist was the wand prototype.
Right, and we had some concerns about it. I'm like going It's interesting because Sean, you brought up that it's I was going for it until I saw like the wand, and the wand just didn't quite fit.
It seemed out of place. Yeah. Basically, what it does, it lets you kind of charge it with a cantrip, basically, that you don't know though, which is cool, and you can kind of just like fire off a cantrip that you don't know, which is kind of neat.
So firebolt.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. If you don't know it, you can learn it right there.
See, but because it's in that thing. I mean, it's a cantrip. It's not going to use up a spell slot anyway. But at the same time, it's neat to be able to go into other people's spells and everything else and do that. You have a wand of Thorn Whip.
Yeah,
which is pretty
exactly.
Kind of like Scorpion. I don't know from
right,
Mortal Kombat or something. But it's neat because if you think about it. As an artificer, somebody who's tinkering with things to make things something that they're not, he would always be experimenting and looking at different stuff. It's not just like, oh well, it casts Thorn Whip. No, it's like, okay, so how do you create this thing? And they go into detail on it in there about how an artificer actually casts their spells.
Right.
Right. So it's like, yeah, you're supposed to be. You can flavor it towards. Well, I built this little thing that does this instead of, oh, I just cast Fireball. So I think that's neat. And I like how that kind of works together. But the wand, that can be flavored in many different ways.
Yeah, like you don't have to necessarily think of the stereotypical wooden stick.
Right.
One thing I thought in my head was almost like Doctor Who's wrench, like the little tool that he uses.
That thing?
Yeah. So,
definitely could be dangerous.
It could be.
Everything timey-wimey on us.
Exactly.
I'm not sure about that. But I get what you're saying. I like that kind of flavor and that idea with it. Now, they do get they get a new spell in there, but the cool thing is I like those things that they can pick where they can actually make magic items.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the more original things that this class actually gets. So like, for example, like at first you can make like an alchemy jug or a bag of holding. Later levels you can make boots of elvenkind, hat of disguise. And it's cool because you can basically kind of make these items and, have them going off.
Yeah, and it's limited too. So it's like you have to pick, replicate a magic item, and it's one of your choices as you're leveling up. You're like, you'll always be able to create that Goggles of the Night, but after one point, they're not exactly useful. I mean, all they do is let you see dark vision.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of like, each of these things are like that. And then the arcane weapon is kind of neat too, because that's a bonus action. That's the spell that they get. But I think these guys are based so much on helping the party.
Yeah. I think when people are going through this class, and if they do plan on using it, and again, a lot of the talk and the hype, everyone was really excited, and everyone had all these expectations about the class. Really, it's actually pretty good as is, even for like currently as a like playtest material.
Right, and let's not forget that people are going to make subclasses for this stuff. You know, there's different types of characters out there. There's different classes out there where the subclasses change completely what the class does. Like, take a look at what's the fighter one that allows you to do all the different moves with all the different dice?
Like the Battle Master.
The Battle Master, for example, a regular fighter. You're playing a fighter and you're playing, anything like that, and then going to a Battle Master as an option is a completely different mechanic.
Right.
You don't even think about that. So there's nothing to say that this can't be boom, boom, pow later on. This is just a class. You just got to look at it as a class and not a subclass.
Yeah.
And it's filling a role that we don't have, and that's full utility.
Yeah, exactly. We talk about it a lot in the channel, how there should be more classes that kind of utilize more supportive tactics and things that kind of help the party, because D&D is a multiplayer game. There's other people usually at your table and playing with you.
And it's what you normally see. Like, even in MMOs out there, when you used to play these things, sorry, big MMOer when I was back in my day, but still, you look at it and you go, okay, you need a tank, you need someone to take all the hits. Good, you need a healer. That's your second most important thing. Then somebody's got to kill the monster while they're you need the damage per second, or this one, how much damage they're going to do. Damage per round, I guess it is.
DPS.
DPR in D&D.
Oh, yeah.
But and then you need someone to control the field and control the monsters. Imagine if you're sitting there and you've got little minions coming at you from every angle, and there's more and more being added to the fray as you're playing. Who's the guy that controls everybody else?
Right.
This is that class. This is the thing that does that. His spells are all based on, how do I affect the field? How do I help that tank? How do I make sure the healer gets a heal off? How can I heal from a distance when the healer is already helping somebody else? He is support. Articifer equals support.
Exactly.
Hey, there's a video title.
Yeah. And then the only other thing that I wanted to say about this class is, compared to the other ones, like, a bard, a wizard, a fighter, there's so much opportunity for story and role playing with this particular class.
Oh, yeah.
That it opens up the door for so many things. Now you got this character that is meticulous, or maybe it's someone that's crazy, or maybe it's someone that's just like completely overly attentive.
Maybe all three.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it's really great. I think as far as a role play class, this is something you definitely want to try out. Play test it in your campaign. See how it works out. See what you like, what you don't like. For example, I want to take out the fact that their spellcasting focus is their tools.
Yeah.
I want them to have their tools, but I think you should have the material components too in order to make those items.
Right, exactly.
That's something you can try. There's many ways to toss this around, change it around, homebrew it, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what we end up doing, right?
Yeah, even in the end, when you're taking content that's being play tested or stuff that's already out, in the end, you're going to end up homebrewing it at some point.
Right, because remember, with homebrew, you can change it to suit what you've got going on in your campaign. And that's what makes homebrewing fun. So remember, the best campaigns are always the ones that are homebrewed. So until next time,
keep brewing.